Hello, I'm Samuel and I'm the co-founder of Raised, and we'll be going through an 11 plus verbal reasoning paper today. The questions were created by looking at various different papers and then finding the common question types and then making it into one super paper. I'll be giving you tips and tricks I've learned through my experience tutoring. Let's get started. The first question type we're going to do are letter transfer questions where you have to get one letter from the first word and transfer it over to the second. This is very simple, but there's sometimes there's just a random word or like your eyes are just muddled and you can't really seem to find the answer. So when it comes to that, the best method is just a brute force method in my opinion. What I mean by that is you just go through, first ignore the second word. We want to reduce our workload. And what you'll do is you just go through omit every single letter. Is that a word? Acre? No. Beaker? No. Bayer? No. Backer? No. And then bake. That's how we got the first word. Now, so we know the letter we need to move is R. And then you can do the brute force method again to insert it here, at the beginning, the end, to the end. We know the answer is toner. It's a very simple example. Now, if I'm doing the brute force method, how am I supposed to know what is correct? So here it's really pattern recognition of consonants and vowels and how certain combinations of letters work together. For example, like sh and ch. For example, you will know that these are letters that work together. So if you go back to the example of omitting the second letter, so A, you get like beaker. So this word obviously looks weird for two reasons. One, B and K are not letters that often are together in any context. And the second thing is that this is definitely missing a vowel of some sorts. Like even though it's not the correct word, like boca or something, it looks a bit, at least this one makes a little bit of sense, right? So yeah, so we know that it's missing a vowel, so we can tell it's not really looking correct. If we go to the second word, tone, and we do the same thing, the first example, our tone, is definitely not a word. But the second one, trone, that one seems like it could be a word. So then when you're in the situation where you're deciding between trone or toner, this is where you bring in your own knowledge, but if it really is really tricky, then a coin toss of 50-50 is a lot better than not knowing, having nowhere to go. Alright, moving on to the second word. Second question, sorry. These are easy because you can always see the word inside. So as soon as you see the word inside, you know the correct answer is mother. Same for the other one. You can see it's each inside a beach, so you can see the word. And this one again is easy. Just put it and for bleach. Alright, this one is a bit more tricky, but one thing that I've noticed is that this bias, the word bias, has lots of vowels. So in general, if you have lots of vowels, you can probably give one away. So what I'm looking at is getting this I and putting it into paint. And last question, just to demonstrate the point. This one is easily fight and adding slow here. So I gave you a little technique to help you when you're in a pickle, but these questions are generally fairly easy. If you don't know the word, then you'll use the brute force method. Alright, let's move on to section 2, where you look for hidden words. This one, you could just have a really good eye for it, but me personally, I'm very methodical. I go to the same technique every single time, and that's another go for every single iteration. So we know it's a 4-letter word, so it can't be. So we can just keep doing this, and then I just move the line into here, and then I'm just looking for every single option available. So here, if we do the brute force method, and it's a tricky word, we do the same techniques we used last time. Does it look weird? Is the vowels all muddled up? Do we see these letter combinations often? So for example, let's say the first word we see is theft. Not a word. We're probably missing something here, notably a T. Something along those lines. Like you can have these have a really internal dialogue, just talking to yourself, validating your answers or possible answers. So another one just before the answer is lemen. L-M-E-N. This one again we don't see L and M at the beginning of a word. We might see it towards the end, for example helm, but definitely not at the beginning. You don't really see that often, so we can omit that one straight away. So from that, we can see the answer is mend if we go through it systematically. So we're just going to go through this one quickly again. So let's try it. So the first one is shet, not a word. What's the next one? Hetri, hetri. If you say the word out loud, well, not out loud in the exam, but inside your head, you can also get a really good grasp of whether it should be a word. So that's why I'm saying it out loud. Etri, no. Yet, crazy word, probably not. Eto, no. This one here, you would think, oh, I need to look at this one. Like, tiogi, the tog. But remember, it has to be between two words. So in this situation where you can't create a word, you can just actually leave that alone. So we can start from togre or gra. That one sounds maybe. So you can highlight it or write it out, star it. Okay, Ogra, and then we go to aspa maybe, and then we see the word span. So we got the answer here. Usually if you have a sensible word and you are genuinely confident, you don't have to go the entire process because it's very long, but it doesn't hurt to just double check there's other ones as well. So I'm just going to blitz through these now. So we can see join here. What's this one? We can see easy here. And then we can see cute. And because it's a 4-letter word, there's only 3 combinations really that it could be. A 4-letter word in between 2 words. So it can be 2-2, like this. So 2 letters from the first, 2 letters from the start of the second. Or the other combinations are 3-1. 1 letter from the second, 3 from the first. Or the other way around, so 1-3. So, like this one. So that's one way to, again, speed up your process. You know there's certain combinations that can't exist because there's certain restrictions. So yeah, moving on to the next section. And this is letter completion. So we got to find the letter that works for all 4 words. Now, for this one, I think of how I do it is there are certain word combinations that look very, very unique. For example, if I tell you able, there's not many words with able at the end and a letter at the front. So you can probably gather, you already probably know the answer without even looking at the option. The answer is, the thing you're thinking about is teeth, the table. And that's how I do it. I don't necessarily look at the options and brute force it. That is a secondary thing I'm going to do. But here we can just look at the words that clearly a specific word. So here we validate it by checking it over, like topple, correct, plant, belt, perfect. For number 12, we can see another example here. I'm looking specifically at this word and this word, Rama and or. Again, I don't know that many words with Rama towards the end with a letter at the front, so I'm already thinking drama. So same thing with or there could be more or door, and D is the one we're trying to validate. So we just plug it in, and mild, drama, wind, or work. Here, Question 13, we see another example. They gave us a very easy one. Edel. Edel is a very, very long word, and when you have so much letters and so much clues, you can start already answering without even looking at the whole question. So we can already guess it's probably N, and once we validate, open, needle, grain, no. All words that we know. Alright. Here, the word are we looking at is probably OAD. You don't get many words. The only one I can think of is toad, road. Those are the two options. So let's say we do go for T first. Cleat. Cleat is a word. The things at the bottom of shoes, spikes. Toad, probably. Yep, that works. Feet. Yep, like a feet achievement. But the one that I'm a bit worried about is ties. Ties I'm not really seen in this format. If I were to say it, that is a word. But remember, this is how you spell it. So in this situation, I'll probably be a bit more skeptical because I'm not 100% confident. So now I'm going to try R, which was the other word that could create a word with OAD. So if we try road, clear, fear, rise. This gives me confidence to say it's R. Alright. Next one here. This is quite a giveaway, and this is quite a giveaway. There's not many letters, again, that could really fit. So we know straight away is S. This is quite a sneaky one whenever they do these. They have a perfect looking word and they put a plural. So if you ever see a complete word, it's probably an S towards the end. Okay, word relationships. Complete the second group like the first. Here they have a little pattern going on or some rule sets. And to do this question, I like to draw little arrows. So what I mean by that is mad, man and dip creates mad. So where do these letters come from? So for the first letter, it has to come from the M in man, A likewise, because there is no M or A in dip. And then likewise, the D goes like that. So we see there's this rule set. Now let's convert this to the second group. So we want the B, the U, and the G. Bug. This seems to make sense. If it's a word, you usually got the right answer. It's very rare that you do it incorrectly and also have a word. I think they usually try to avoid these situations for confusion. Alright, so these ones, the first one was a very methodical, like finding like the first letter of the second letter of the first word, and then using the first letter of the second word. Sometimes a lot more, they can group it up as well. So for corn and rope, you make cope. So immediately, I'm thinking, you take the CO from the first, take the first two letters of the first, and the last two from the second, and you make cope. Which does make sense, because if we do apply the same rules, we get bake. However, we have to be slightly cautious when there's situations where there's repeat letters. So what I mean by that is, corn, we use the O from corn, but who says the word isn't also from the O from rope? So we have to be a bit careful here. In this situation, we're a bit lucky that if we did do it like this and create the word, and you take the B and the ache from lake, we still get the same word. But there's just something to look for, just in case. And it's also another way to quickly validate your answer. Alright, another grouped one. So we see the G, and then we see the EM. Perfect. So we can just do the same thing, and that's Tim. Alright, here we have another situation where there's more than one letter, but instead of in two words, we have it in one word. Most notably, Paz Z. So we don't know which specific one. Are they using the third letter or the fourth letter? We're going to find out that it doesn't matter, because again, the third and fourth letter here are the same, which is good. They've made it easy for us. So we know the first letter is D. And now we need the I. Where can we see the I from? We can see the I in the third letter of the second word. So we're going to take this, again, is I. And then where can we find the P? There we go. The first letter of the first word. And there we go. Dim. Simple. Here we have another situation where there's repeat letters. So we gotta see which one creates the most sensible word. So if we go for using this S first, so we use the fourth letter, we also have S, and then the K would be from the fifth one because there's no other K. So we start having SH, and then the Y is here. So we're going to have to use the second letter of the second word. So shy. That seems sensible, but let's just double check we've really got it correct. So let's use this. So let's create the word again. So we're going to use the first letter of the second word, L, and then use the last letter of the first word, H, and then the Y. Never seen this word before, so we know it's wrong, and this is correct. Alright. Alright. Then let's move on to section 5 where it's number series. These are very simple, but sometimes there's two patterns going on at the same time, and they're at different, so they skip one number, and there's like two patterns going on. But once you realize that, again, it's just very simple. So number 21 is just +3 or the 3 times table, so we know straight away it's 18. 22 is when you get two patterns going on, because you go from, if we just go linearly, it goes -2 + 4 -2 + 4 -2 + 4. That also works, or you can think of it as two patterns occurring at the same time. So in here, we keep adding 2, 2, 2, and it's 18. Or we could have done the +2 - 4 method. It would have worked both ways. So 18 is the correct answer. Alright, number 23. Here we have numbers increasing, going up and down again. So let's try have two patterns again. Here we go. And then here we go. So we know the bottom one doesn't matter because we won't get the answer. We need the answer. So what is going on here? It's going +2, then +4. So that means each increase is increasing. So that means the next one should be +6 instead of 4. So then if you +6 to 11, you get 17. This one's a classic one, doubling. You should really understand when you see these numbers like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. To do it very often. So we know the answer is 64. Alright, next one. Number 25. All the numbers are decreasing, but they're decreasing at an increased amount. So we see there's -5, and then it's -10, -15, -20, oops. And therefore the last one will be -25. And so then we do 50 - 25, and we easily get 25. Great. Cool. Section 6, we're going to look at some logic problems. These ones seem quite hard, but once you list out all the information you have, and you can do like these mini formulas, you get it very quickly. So they always give you names that are not the same, that don't start with the same letter, so you can code them up. So Sarah, Tom, Emma. Okay, so Sarah bought 6, just give us information. Tom bought 2 more than Sarah, so we know he got 8. And then Emma bought half as many as Tom, so we divided by 2, so we have 4. So now with all the information, we can answer how many did Emma buy, and we can confidently say 4. We're going to do the same thing for every single question. So we have Alfie, Billy, Charlie, and Danny. Perfect A, B, C, D. Alfie buys 9. Perfect. Billy bought One fewer than Charlie. Alright, so we don't know how much Charlie has bought yet, but I'm just going to put for now, to remind myself, he bought one minus Charlie's. Alright. Danny bought one fewer than Alfie. Alright, we know how much Alfie has got. He's got 9. So one fewer is 8. And then he bought 2 fewer than Charlie. So that means Charlie has 2 more than Danny. So we know from that, plus 2, we get 10. And then finally, Billy we know has 1 less than Charlie. So it's 9. So now we can answer the question, how many oranges did Billy buy? And that's 9. Amy is 11, so we can write 11, B, 3 years older than Amy, makes Ben 14, and Chris is half of that, so we divide it by 2, and we get 7. Easy peasy. Alright, so adult tickets cost £5, and child ticket costs £2. A family buys 3 adult and 4 child tickets. What is the total cost? So that's multiplication. So we have to do 3 times 5, then plus 4 times 2. And that's just simply 15 plus 8. So we get the answer as 23. Okay, moving on to section 7 where we go through opposites. This one, they usually trick you by putting words that are synonyms or loosely related, so then you have to really know the slight nuance and the reasons why you used one word over the other. So, what I mean by that is accept and include and allow have very similar meanings. And then we go to the other one and we realize reject, ban, and exclude also have very similar meanings. But in this situation, we can tell it's include and exclude. And that's because they have the same root word of include. And then they have a different prefix. Opposite prefixes, in fact. That is one thing that your child should learn, is prefixes. Prefixes give you a lot of information about a word. For example, like UN is usually not, or it has a negative connotation. So that straight away gives you so much information about the word. These Latin and Greek prefixes occur, well, a lot of times, so it's just a matter of getting them to realize they know a lot of these prefixes and making that small connection so then they can start using it a lot more and consciously think about it. Cool. So 32, we have loads of loud, screaming, shouting. These words are all loud. And then the same thing, quiet, calm, hush, all very chill words. But don't let the words distract you. Loud and quiet are obviously the most opposite in meaning. Not saying that scream and calm are not opposites, but we want, if we go back, the most opposite. So the words that have directly that definition and then directly the opposite definition. Alright, so I'm just going to blitz read these because these are fairly easy. So next one will be strong and weak. Win and lose. This one, be careful because triumph is something you do when you win. But in this situation again, we need the most opposite. So the most opposite word for triumph would be something like maybe like sulking. That would be probably something like that. And the last one, push and pull. Let's move on to section 8, analogies. And in this section, you'll get something is like something, like a simile, or like it could be opposites, and then there's another group, and you have to kind of relate it in the same manner. So for question 36, hot is to cold, warm, boil, as tall to short, climb, rise. So we see there's 2 words here that kind of relate to being hot, and 2 words that kind of relate to being tall. But is that the most convincing argument? Nope, because it's kind of hard to decide which one. Would it be warm or boil, climb to rise? So in this situation, it's opposites. So hot is to cold, makes sense, and tall is to short, makes sense. Right, number 37. Teacher is to classroom, apple, homework, as doctor is to ambulance, x-ray, hospital. So, straight away, we can see for teacher, if we go through the first three options for teacher, classroom is where they work, apple is a symbol associated with it, and homework is something teachers give. And let's see for doctors. So doctors, we have ambulance, which is kind of related, but they're not really, I suppose, the ones driving out. X-rays, something they do and they get results from. And hospital, another place where they work. So again, the strongest correlation is classroom and hospital. Alright, 38, we get knife, and we have three words that are similar, associated with a knife. Cut, which is the action, sharp, which is the description, and poke, another action. And then we have, for pen, we have paint, draw, and rub. And we have three actions here. So straight away for pen, we're probably thinking draw is probably the most accurate. Rub is more for rubbers, so it doesn't really work here. And then paint, obviously, you can't really paint with a pen. So that's the action. Now let's see for knife, what's the most appropriate one. So sharp is a descriptor, not an action word. And cut is what you often do. You can poke with a knife, but we're going for the strongest relationship. Right, 39, we have bark is the tree, dog, and wood, as meow is the cat, mouse, and whisker. This is a very common one, bark. They like to, it's a synonym, so they like to confuse you because it can be both associated to trees, wood, and dog. But obviously, since we see meow, we can probably assume it's going to be animal related. So this one's an easy one, it's just dog and mouse. Not mouse, and cat. Number 40, wheel is to car, turn, spin, as wing is to helicopter, bird, dive. So there's a component, a wheel is a component of a car, a wheel spins and turns, so that's the motion. So here, if the answer were to be either turn or spin, I would expect something like flap as the option. Unfortunately, that is not, so it probably is the component of a car. A wheel is a component of a car, and a wing is a component of a bird because it's got wings. A helicopter has blades or fans, or however you want to call them, instead of wings, so we know that's not correct. And then I don't know how really wing is associated with a dive. I suppose a bird can dive down, or it could be dive as in go under the water. So here the answer would be car and bird. Moving on to section 9. These are letter series, and there's a pattern or way the letters move for the next set, and you just got to identify what's going on. Alright, they always give you a number line, and please use a number line. For these questions, I would recommend using a pencil, so you can rub out your little lines you draw, whatever you do, so you can use it again, rather than keep writing a number line yourself. Okay, so the first one we have, usually how it works is the first letter is linked, and the second letter, they have their own little thing going on. So, let's see what's going on here. Between A to D, we jump like this. From D to G, we jump like this. And then we jump like this for J. So each time we're jumping 3 steps. So the next one would be M. So let's check the other side. We use a different color now. So B to E, E to H, H to K, and then K to N. One thing we could have realized was that the difference between the first and second letter is just +1, so we just could have done that as well. But we know now the answer is MN. Cool. So let me just rub out the working out from before. Okay, so on to the next one. So the next one we have Z, A, Y, B, X, C, W, D. So same thing again, let's see what the first letter is doing. So it's jumping like this. So it's going Z, Y, Y, X, and then X, W. So naturally, the next one would be V. Now, what would the next one be? We have A, B, C, D, and then we can see the proper next one is E. Another easy one. Okay, so now we have MNOPQRST. They've given us a super easy one, and we can just tell it's the next letters. So we go MN as the first group, then OP, then QR, and then ST. So the next batch will be here, and what each letter did was just jump twice. So we can see it's UV. Now we have NCOFPIQL. So let's start with the first letter again, see what's they're doing. So you have NO to P, NO, P, and then Q. So naturally, the next one will be R for the first letter. And then we see C to F. And there's a +3 jump. And then F to I is also a +3 jump. And then I to L as the next +3 jump. So then, naturally, we can see the pattern is to go +3. So the answer would be RO. Here we see a little funky pattern going on. So it goes AA, BC, CF, DJ. The first letter seems to be following a very simple pattern. So we have A, B, C, D, E. So he knows E. Now let's see what's going on with this other funky pattern. It goes like this. So A to C, and then C to F, and then F to J. Alright, so we have +2 here. It moves +3, and it moves +4. So naturally, the next one will be +5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jump to O. So we EO as our answer. Great. We're going to move on to our final section, section 10, and it's deciphering the word codes. So these ones seem difficult, but they're actually very easy once we start spotting the patterns. So how I like to do this first is they usually give you 3 numbers, codes, and 4 words. So then it makes it a bit difficult. You can't really match it properly. So for now, ignore the words because there's more to do there. And we're just going to look at the numbers. What specifically is recurring numbers that are in all the words. So just at a glance, you can see, oh, there's a 1 here, and there's also a 1 here. So that might lead you to think about, oh, let's look for the letters that are 2 words that have the same letter at the beginning, and the second word has the same letter at the end. So, for example, one that would work would be, for example, mead and dram. You might think that. However, deer and dram also have the same letter as the last letter as mead. So that means that doesn't give us enough information because it could be all these combinations. So let's find a different thing that can give us more information by looking at the letters again, numbers again. Sorry. So what I will look for are usually 2 codes that have 2 of the same letters and see how they're arranged. So I'm looking for the 4-3 here, and then the 3-4 here, and then we can use this 3 here to validate our little theory that we have going on. So are there any in between the second and third letters that are the same letters but reversed? Let's have a check. So EA, AR, RA. Okay. So you can see we don't know how it's going to map out, so it could be this or this, but we have narrowed down our options. So now what is the next thing to look for? Next thing to look for is the validation letter we're looking at. This number 3. So what is this 3? So the 3 here could either be R or A. Okay? So that means we have to look for a word that has the third letter as either an R or an A. Let's look for that. There are none for R, because only dear and mead, they both have A. So we know straight away, we can confirm that 3 is A. So that means we can confirm this one would be where, and this one will be dram. A lot of information we gathered. And then we weren't actually sure which one 5231 is, dear or mead, because we only knew 3 as A. But now we can see that 5 is M, 2 is E, and 1 is D. So we've deciphered everything, easy peasy. We can straight away answer dram, 1435, sorry. And then ream would be 4235. And then 6234 would be, take this one, so it'd be WEAR, where, and to confirm that we got the right answer, that is a real word. We're going to go for another example of this. This time you'll see that we're going to go through the same technique again. Ignore the words, focus on the code. And what pattern can we see here? Very easy one to see. Well, let's go through some options first. So one option could be, you saw there was a 5, 5. Another one is you saw 1, 1, 1, which is good. But the easiest one is actually the combination of these two, 3, 1, 3, 1. So we know a word has 2 letters at the beginning, and another word has in the same order, these 2 letters at the end. That makes it very, very easy. So if you look at the words, the only options we have are rest and stir. Stir being the one with the letters at the beginning, as such, and then rest like this. Great. So now we've got enough information to finish 1, 4, 5, 6. So that'll be T, 4 is R, 5 is I, and 6 is we don't know yet, but we can see that it is spelling out trim. So we can complete trim. So we now know 6 is also M. Now from that, because we got the M from trim, we can start writing up the code. So it'll be 6, 5, 1, 2. And then for semi, likewise again, we've done all the hard work, so it's just 3, 2, 6, 5. And then 1, 2, 4, 6 would be 1 T, 2 E, 4 is R, and 6 is M. Term, another word we know, so we can confirm everything checks out. So that's great. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you found this useful. And please comment if there's anything else you would like us to cover. We'll be uploading regularly. If you like this type of content, please check out our startup Raise. It will be linked in the description. We are building an AI personalized tutor that gives students the prompts and tips as they are tackling the question or essays to maximize their marks. Something like what I've done today. Thank you again, and see you soon. Bye bye.